Okay, what's up, everybody? Wanted to hook you guys up with another little video here. Sorry, I'm a day late. I know I was going to post it last night, but I think most of the ideas that I was looking at are still very much in play going forward, due in no small part due to the bullishness of the market right now. So sometimes, shouldn't say sometimes, most of the time, chasers are being rewarded and people that hold are doing well. So I would watch all these for dips. First one I'm going to cover is UNH. So UNH, I don't know if you guys have been following the story, but UNH was the company that had the CEO get assassinated by Luigi Mangione. And then surprisingly, he sort of had the public rally around him. So it ended up being kind of a bearish situation because everybody was saying, oh, look at these pieces of shit. Their stock deserves to go down. So that said, I mean, all this happened as you can see, in the $600 range. That's the 52-week high is up near $600. We ended up hitting 250 last week. So crazy pullback for a stock worth, $288 billion, or a whole lot more, obviously, when it was even higher. So now we have sort of a whole perfect storm of events that are turning the tides on this one. Obviously, you can say Luigi was a reason that the stock went down, but I would say that another big reason was RFK and Trump, who are seen as a lot less pro sort of big healthcare than the prior administration. So, you saw a lot of sort of natural healing type plays and sort of alternative medicine stuff start moving to the upside, and you saw a lot more traditional medicine start moving down. People saw it as these, sort of the chickens were coming to roost for these big corporations. But I found this last week. This is kind of what piqued my interest on this one. I ended up adding 270 in the chat or close to it. But we saw this on Wednesday night with RFK. He said he loves Medicare Advantage, which I think came as a surprise to a lot of people. So he's a supporter. I'd assume Trump is too. And then we had, I forgot to pull this up on the screen, but we had all these Form 4s hit. I think it was Thursday intraday. And you had basically millions of dollars bought by insiders. I think the CEO put 10% of his own net worth in. So huge show of strength. These weren't small buys. And this sort of started to trigger the squeeze to the upside. So, two big catalysts, a lot of stuff lining up for UNH. I'm looking at, so some of you guys might remember me talking about this I think it was last fall or last summer, but it seems the situation looks really similar to me to the CrowdStrike situation from last year, where you have something that pretty much everybody was talking about that had a huge drop. And then, after people sort of lost interest, CrowdStrike ended up reversing. I want to say, I think it was something like over, yeah, look at this. Basically 100% off of these lows, which is crazy for a $110 billion company. Big money's made. There's guys out here taking multi-seven-figure positions of these, I'm sure, and, funds probably doing even bigger. So I'm looking at this as basically the model. UNH has been a great trade, and some people might sort of throw shade at me for even posting it at this point, because it did bounce, over, I would say, what is this, over 20% at this point, which is huge. Again, huge for a company of this size, because whales are involved with these kind of trades, and they're already up big. But like I say, I'm just using CrowdStrike as a model. To me, the market's looking like arguably even more bullish than it was last fall, although, that's a tough argument to make. But so if this fits the model, this is going back to $500, guys. So, am I gonna hold for 500? Probably not. But if this is even close to doing what CrowdStrike does, we have a lot more room to the upside on this name. So, that's the first trade idea. UNH. Watch it for dips. Watch it for intraday oversold levels, and whether you want to long this as an investment or you want to just sort of trade it. I think the easiest way to do so is from the long side, even quote unquote up here. So first trade idea, UNH. Next one I'm looking at, IPSC. Now this is a penny stock with a little bit bigger market cap, 50 mil for something, in the mid penny range, which is obviously a little bit heavy, but I've noticed it just looks really, really locked up since this news 4 days ago. News sort of got faded. It happened to hit on a day when news wasn't too hot in terms of the tape. So pretty standard run of the mill stuff on this, but eventually they had let me find it. So eventually they had. I might have put this in the wrong place. Bear with me here. So we have this, basically the most important part is we have this net income of 76.6 million, which is wild. I mean, this is even bigger than their market cap. And they lost 28 million last year. So we're just talking like night and day difference here. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So the flip came from negative to positive, came from collaboration revenue generated through this Bristol Myers deal. A lot of these big deals with these big names seem to like never come to fruition, but this one actually worked, and they had all these royalties come in and hit, which is huge. So the deal got terminated, but the revenue's already hit. There's going to be no future collaboration revenue, so just something to keep in mind. But to me, considering how this is getting locked up and how big the situation feels, I think this should make for a good swing. So I do have this. Swinging it with decent size this week, and we'll see if we get any follow-up news, or maybe if people just sort of circle back and find this story and it runs. So that's the second trade idea, IPSC, based off this PR and these Bristol Myers revenues starting to hit and turning the company profitable. So who knows? Maybe other licensing agreements on the horizon, and this is a real turnaround for this type of company. If they could get back over $1 organically, that would be great. So, again, cash per share 141. So we have kind of something that looks basically undervalued, assuming there's no types of dilution in play. And from what I was able to find, it looks pretty clean. There's not a whole lot going on here. So we'll see what happens. Lots of room to any kind of warrants, lots of room, generally speaking. So obviously this can change if there's any new filings that hit down here, but for now we're looking clean. So IPSC, that's the next idea. I got one last idea for you guys. You might have seen me post this on Twitter. I think it was a week or two ago, but I've been bearing with it. ALTS does kind of remind me of my ASPI idea from a while back, which actually ran even further tonight into the 8s, and I had posted that one around $4, I think. So hope people did well on it. I know I did. But anyway, I digress. ALTS, next idea, larger, a little bit more of a mid-cap or higher small-cap type name here, 122 million market cap, but another one that has just looked extremely locked up since it started getting all this volume, very few dips, and if you check daily VWAPs, which I like to do on these, they're always a lot higher than the lows of the candle, which to me, in these conditions kind of indicates accumulation on this one. So I saw that they had announced this MSwipe acquisition. I was a little surprised it didn't move on this, but I think that people, again, are going to maybe circle back to this story. You have ties to Visa and MasterCard, which is, even for a $120 million company, that's absolutely huge. And you have, the MSwipe acquisition getting closed. Obviously, if we see crypto sort of get hot again, which it seems to do almost every other day these days, this can be pretty big with this kind of stuff going on. So I did look into the company, MSwipe. They've been doing some raises. It looks like on the venture cap private type side, but we're talking a valuation of somewhere in the range of let's say 8 figures. So seems pretty big to me, considering it's basically the entire market cap of this company. So even if they had nothing else going on prior, that alone could make this run as people come back for the story. So few trades for you guys. Again, sorry I was late. Hope it's helpful. Market's looking really good, guys. I would say, if I could say one thing about my trading and sort of a pivot mentally unless things change, obviously, is that a lot of stuff that looks too high or looks like you should sell or you shouldn't get back into ends up going a lot higher right now. So I don't want to speak too soon. Things are looking really good for that V-shaped recovery that everyone has been hating on, but keeps happening. So don't be afraid, especially on something like UNH. Don't be afraid of that 250 low. I think long term, especially, it's going to be pretty tough to lose from these levels. So, we'll see what happens. Anyways, happy trading, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll try to come back with a few more bangers soon, but we'll see how these play out, all right? Deuces.